third third installment of this series, where we are diving into the inking process of our manga character. So, previously with sketching, we explored the benefits of being able to sketch pretty rough and loose, and having rough lines and very loose sketchy lines and things like that. So those are all good. But now that we come to the inking phase, we do need to start to tighten up our craftsmanship. We do need to start to pay attention to details and try not to make as little mistakes as possible. But don't worry, if you made mistakes during this phase, there are ways to fix it later. Okay, so what I like to go over first is with the inking process. The tools of trade that I like to use are essentially fine liners, pens that have really dark black ink, and they come in different sizes. I typically start with something really thin like this. So this is a Sakura Micron 01, and this is a really good size to start things out with. And just to give you a feel of what that looks like, 01s kind of give you lines that are line thicknesses that are about this thickness, and this is basically what we want for this kind of size of drawing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with I break up inking into little phases as well. So phase 1, I'm basically using the 01, the thin ink, thin pen to go over everything that I believe is going to be part of the final drawing. So this means pretty much all the lines that pertains to the final character. I will be tracing it and so on. What I don't want to do is I don't want to be tracing the construction lines. The construction lines should not be traced at all during this phase. Okay, so I'm going to dive in right now. I'm just going to start here. So the way I like to trace is, I like to try to keep everything as clean as possible. So I try to do everything within one single stroke as much as I can, as much as humanly possible. Now, because graphite pencils sometimes have these horrible glares under the light, so it may be kind of hard to see at times. So you may have to switch different angles just to be able to see things more clearly. But nonetheless, this is how it looks like. I trace things pretty slow. During this phase, I really encourage you guys to take it slow. Don't rush through this. You have a lot of time you could spend on tracing these. Some of the common mistakes I would like you to avoid are some people when it comes to tracing, they go back into this kind of a hatching, very hairy kind of texture, which is excellent for sketching, even sketching with pens. There will be instances where we definitely want that sketchy, loose kind of a feel. But when it comes to finalized inking, we want to stay away from this kind of loose sketch as much as we can. We want to keep things pretty clean. So try to just have this like really clean hand to everything. Now it's almost impossible to finish a curve within one entire stroke, so I do break it up into several strokes, but I do try to make them look like they merge, so that they don't look like broken lines everywhere. Okay, so And what I'm sharing with you, really, as long as you do your best, I mean, that's all anyone could ask for, really. So if your first attempt at inking like this turns out to be a bit more messy than you have hoped, please don't be discouraged. It does happen a lot. In fact, that's kind of the norm. So please don't beat yourself up. You know, you're making progress and you're doing great. Now, I'm just going to go a little faster. Now, if you are a little bit more advanced, I could challenge you to push yourself a little bit by including tapers in your strokes. So if you look at the eyes, especially the eyes that I'm working on, you'll notice that some of the strokes that I have are not completely flat. Some have these very punctuated kind of a stroke feeling, like so. Some places are thick, other places are thin. So if you're a bit more advanced, you would like to challenge yourself, this is definitely a good thing to try improving yourself on, challenge yourself on. Okay. So otherwise, feel free to just trace whatever design there is. Just trace and trace and trace. Be a tracing expert. Who says tracing is not part of a good drawing? It is. It's just hopefully you're the person that created the initial designs, not someone else. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna. So this process, this phase 1, again, does take a while. So just be patient with yourself, and long and behold, you are going to have this fabulous ink line art in front of you. So you will run into situations at times where you're not totally sure what you should ink. There is a level of there's a level of inking, of winging it, basically improvising as you go. There are some guesswork going on, and if you encounter that kind of situation, it does happen. Okay, so don't feel too bad about it if it does happen. So hopefully in our pencil stage, we've gotten things tightened to a certain point where we feel, like confident enough to start to detail and ink it and trace it. But sometimes it's not entirely possible that we could be detailed 100%. So try to at least achieve that 70-80% of accuracy if you can. And that way you wouldn't feel so stressed out when it comes to you inking everything and being super ambiguous about everything. Okay. So try your best to see if you could finalize your details in your pencil process like this. So my first goal is to just try to trace over everything. I'm repeating myself, I understand. Please forgive me. I'm going to trace over everything with a thin line like this. I'm not filling in my eyes with colors or solid shapes yet, because I know that if I fill my pupils, for example, with black, it's permanent. There's no chance that I could add any more colors if I wanted to do so. Okay, so this is something you kind of have to think about and decide for yourself to see if that's something you want to do. All right, so just tracing as much as I can, everything that I could see. because this is a curly hair, I am attempting a girl's hair. So it, girls' hair tend to be a lot more detailed than your typical short hair guy. So this is just another admonishment for you guys. If you're designing a character with a very fancy kind of a hairstyle, just be aware that you might be setting yourself up for a lot of work. And that's okay. If that's what if you're okay with it, that's okay. Just be aware that may happen. If you want to cut down the amount of work you have for completing a character, then consider making your character's hairstyle simple and clean. Probably short hair. Okay. So I'm improvising a little bit, adding some lines that were not previously there. Just gonna quickly add in some lines like this. So I'm almost done with my stage 1 inking. I'm just going to check a couple of loose ends that I may have left. Excuse me. All right. So as I'm looking at my picture, I just wanted to, there's a little more detail. I'm just going to add that in. Oops, made some mistakes. So I want to show you guys, what do you do when you made mistakes that you don't want? So let's just say, if I was tracing this, if I was tracing this hair, and all of a sudden I detract it. What to do? Oh my gosh, I feel like such a failure. Oh no, this is permanent. I can't fix it anymore. Don't worry. There are usually, I know I said to be careful before. When we start inking, yes, we want to do that as much as we can, but mistakes do happen, and if mistakes like this happen, don't worry, there are other chances to fix it. So my best advice for you is, if you made a mistake like this, like that, or like, oh no, what do I do? I would just leave it for now. There are ways to cover up mistakes later that you could employ to make things either disappear or somehow turn the mistake into something, into like a different drawing, into a drawing that perhaps is even better sometimes. Some of my best drawings came out from a series of mistakes. So yeah. So let me finish up detailing a couple of these swirls right now. So when it comes to curves, I like to draw a part of it like this, and then I like to sketch in another part of it like that. So I typically don't want to go sketchy, 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 and then sketchy, sketchy, sketchy. That itself creates a texture that suggests something else. Okay, so I try to keep it, if you can, try to keep it as like clean as possible, like this. It's kind of like, think about this as writing. You're writing C's and opposite C's, so you're trying not to break it into segments like that so much. It's a different feel. Okay, so hopefully I keep this clean, and when I turn around here, hopefully I capture it pretty clean. All right, and a little more swirl here. Okay, I think I'm done for phase number 1. Let me just, And we just improvise a little bit here. Okay, so, oh yeah, this little button. Trace it. Okay. I should probably add a little thickness here just to suggest that this clothing has some kind of a thickness. Yeah, I'm just kind of making stuff up, adding little details inside. Oh, little line here, little arm there. Okay, here we go. All right, so this looks pretty good for phase 1 inking right now. I'm constantly making adjustment to this. There may be things I need to fix later. Little details to kind of cover up some of the mistakes I made. A little bit of an ambiguity here, but no worries. This is probably as far as I would go on stage 1 inking. Sometimes, okay. I could go on and do this for a long time, but I'm gonna stop right here. So this is a pretty good level to reach for stage 1 inking. So stage 2, when we get to stage 2, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take probably the same pen, but we are going to just trace the outlines of the character. Okay, so meaning whichever part of my character that's touching the background, like these edges over here, I'm gonna ink it just a little bit thicker, just like that. Okay. Now again, if you're more advanced, try to do it in a tapered kind of a fashion. So what I mean by taper is when you have corners like this, the corners get thick and dark like that. Okay. Flat areas like in the middle right here, we keep it really thin. Come to the corner, everything is punctuated again, like so, like so. Okay. If you could do that, that would be even better. But if not, that's totally cool. So phase 2, we trace everything that is touching the background. So anything that is exposed to the background, like these edges, we just give it a little bit more thickness, like so. Okay. Gonna add fake a little bit of hair. This little opening, I'm gonna make it a little bit thick. I assume this is an opening. That's an opening, I think. Openings right here. Gonna make it a little bit thicker. Okay. These places will be outlined. So what this does is it makes your drawing pop. It gives your drawing it helps your drawing stand out visually when you have a dark outline that's excuse me. I'm a little bit sick, so forgive me for if my voice sounded a little bit under the weather because I am a little bit sick at the moment. But yeah, it's cool. I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now. So again, making the outlines thick for anything that's touching the background, exposed to the background, like that, like this. Okay. So I'm going to go over the outer border. So this is a good chance if you made this kind of mistake, for example, like that right there. This is a good chance to kind of improvise something, to cover it up, or to turn the mistake into something different. Perhaps something better. Like this, like that. We're almost done. Phase 2 should be pretty quick. All right. Okay. So that's pretty much it for phase 2. Okay, so by the end of this phase, you could probably tell the drawing seems to be a little bit more alive, like it's popping out. It's grabbing attention. It's pretty captivating like this. So we're in a good shape. What I'm going to do right now is, before we move on to the final stage, I'm going to take my eraser. Eraser, where are you? Come. Okay, here we go. Erasers. Eraser. So I'm going to take my eraser, and I'm going to start erasing my pencil comp. So just start erasing. Start erasing all the pencil lines. So when you erase the pencil lines, a lot of times you'll see some things that may need to be fixed. Excuse me. Let me focus a little bit. All right. Turn off autofocus. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna do some erasing. Like this. Now you have a pretty cool, close to finished level drawing. Okay. So now I'm going to review a little bit of my own drawing and kind of see if there's areas that I need to clean up. There's a little bit work that I need to clean up, but for the most part, it's pretty good. So I'm going to move on to stage number 3, final stage, which is we're going to add a sense of gravity to everything that we have. So a sense of gravity is achieved when you have an object and you have the bottom side of it dark and heavy like that. This is a quick way to fake a shadow, to fake 3D effects. Okay, this applies mostly to objects that are either pointed down. Well, that actually, this is applicable to objects that meets 2 criteria. One, it is pointed down. 2, it is clearly overlapping something. So these bangs right here, they are these sides of the bangs, they are pointed down in the sense of their edges facing downward to the ground. So I'm going to be inking this part, but I'm going to leave the upper side, the side that's facing up, alone. So I'm going to be doing the same thing here. Excuse me. Ooh, made a mistake. Don't worry. Just leave it be. All right. So, so when it comes to bangs, it gets a little bit confusing, to be honest, because sometimes you may just want to ink any side that's facing downward, like these edges over here, but sometimes you may want to ink the entire bang, because I don't know, maybe this strand of hair is really dangling and having a lot of airspace between it and the forehead. So there's a little bit of a judgment call on your part when it comes to where and how much of this stage 3 you want to apply this kind of a fake shadow. But most of the time, I would apply a fake shadow to anything that's clearly pointed down, and anything that's clearly overlapping something. So like this neck right here, it's overlapping the clothing on the backside, with a pretty significant air pocket. So I'm gonna make that thick. You could argue that this collar right here needs a little bit thickness. Yeah, you could do that if you want. Some of these hair are clearly overlapping others, so you could take this chance to basically clean up some of the messes that I have right here. Oh, okay, so here's a excuse me. So like this wad of hair right here, it's overlapping hair in the back, so I'm going to make it thick like that. Again, there's a lot of room for improvisation, for you to kind of do some guesswork. It's not 100% cut and clear kind of a rule thing, but you know, it'll help you along pretty well to have some of these rules that I just taught you as a guide. So this is a ear, so the bottom side of the ear is going to be a little bit thicker because it's facing downward. Okay. Same thing could be argued with the mouth. Some people say the top lip is going to cast a little bit of shadow, so they add a little bit of that thick line on the top side. You know, that's a pretty good argument. You could choose to do that if you want. All right, so let me just double check everything. So let me see if I have anything that is clearly dangling or hanging or covering something else with an air pocket behind. So I could probably argue that this strand right here is standing out a little bit. Okay. But other than that, I think I'm pretty much done. Okay, let me clean this up a little bit. This edge, this clothing's edge, it's clearly cutting the hair behind it. So I'm just gonna add another little bit of detail here in the back like this. All right, so okay. So this top edge, although it's pointed up, but it is overlapping the hair behind it. So I'm just going to make it a little bit thick as well. Okay. So that's pretty much it for inking. So this process can be a little bit difficult because inking requires some level of perfectionism, to be honest. It does take a lot of patience, a lot of practice, and really getting used to the pen and yeah, just really getting comfortable with it. So I would highly suggest before you do any final ink work to actually practice using a pen and try different things on a different surface. You know, see what kind of a feel you create with each kind of different strokes. You know, maybe different textures. Play around with different textures. See what you get. You know, really play around with textures. Create your own. Ooh, interesting pattern. Like that. Okay, so get familiar and get really comfortable with your pen, with your tools before you commit. Okay, because once you ink, you basically kind of commit to excellence, if you will. So yeah, but if you do happen to mess up, screw up, don't worry about it. This is your first, for many of you, this is your first drawing. So if you feel like you made a big mistake, I wouldn't curl up your drawing and just throw it away. I would just keep working, even if it's a mess, even if it's like a drawing like this. Oh my gosh, I messed up so much, whatnot. It's okay. Keep working at it. This is just a practice. It's not, you don't have to treat this as your final drawing. Okay. Be a little bit forgiving to yourself. All right. So hopefully this phase has taught you, has given you a little bit of an insight into how to begin, produce a more finalized, version of your drawing. Okay, so, and hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you like this video, or if you have any questions for Mr. Dan, please feel free to ask, and leave a comment with me, and I would definitely love to respond to you as soon as I can. All right, so until then, next So until then, I look forward to our next and final session, which we are going to cover how to use markers to create, to apply colors to our character, and how to use, there are some tips and tricks on how to create a good lighting or shading effect with those color markers. All right, so I look forward to that final class with you in the next video. Thanks a lot. This is Mr. Dan, and until then, peace out.